A fierce battle raged, two figures caught within a powerful, glowing red magic circle as a monstrous, shadowy beast loomed below, its many eyes glinting menacingly. One of the figures, a young man with white hair and distinctive sunglasses, radiated golden energy, declaring disdainfully, "Demon trash." The monstrous beast shrieked in fury, shadowy tendrils lashing out as it cursed those despicable fairy eyes, vowing to gouge them out and feast on them one day. The tendrils shot towards the young man and his companion, who stood calmly amidst the chaos. The sunglasses-wearing man, unimpressed, stated he wasn't interested in some trashy clone and uttered a single, cold command, "Die." He unleashed a powerful blast of golden energy, forming multiple focused beams that struck the shadowy beast, causing it to recoil in pain and leaving behind smoldering remains. A voice identified him as Zarin, the sorcerer of Magic Eye, while another voice elaborated, revealing his other title as the Decimator of Tartaros, depicted as a lone figure standing amidst a hellish landscape of fire and swirling golden energy. According to rumors, he became a Lomine professor because he wanted the right to freely pass borders in his hunt for demons. Leoplav, with white hair and red eyes, looked down with a slightly troubled expression, thinking he was indebted to the hero of this era. He held a small, broken teddy bear, recalling it appeared when he was investigating this place, noting that from this teddy bear bearing the curse of cognitive dissonance, Lumine's investigation team would have to be held responsible. Zarin appeared then, stating he would overlook the fact Leo was investigating Looter alone, and from now on, Leo should ask him for help when needed. As Zarin walked away, surrounded by swirling golden energy, he turned back, expressing gratitude to Leo for what happened previously, causing Leo to look up with a startled expression. Leo watched Zarin depart, clutching his bag, and thought about his identity, Zarin. House Zarin was one of the three great families managing Lumine Academy, depicted as three powerful, silhouetted figures. A new thought sparked within Leo. With Zarin's help, he might be able to browse the forbidden library. A young boy with light pink hair greeted Leo, the class rep, cheerfully announcing that he was here and had finished the purchase. Seeing Leo's injured arm, the boy exclaimed with concern, asking, "Class rep, how did you get hurt?" Leo dismissed it, stating it wasn't a big deal and thanking him. Internally, however, a grim thought confirmed his suspicions. This confirms it. Salathna was behind the demonic beast handler and the Book of Black Sorcery. 1 week later, a group of students, including Leo, stood before a swirling blue portal on a grassy hill overlooking a city. Leo asked his classmates if they got all the provisions. 2 students with red and light pink hair nodded affirmatively, while another, taller student with dark hair yawned. A girl with long black hair tied with a bow called out "Hello," and approached him, questioning why his class was headed to Velkia, remarking it was too cold there. Leo explained it was like a summer vacation since it was getting hot. The girl grimaced, stating she hated the cold and wished them fun on their journey, waving goodbye as she turned to walk through a different portal with her own group. Leo wished her a safe journey. Turning to his own classmates, he announced that Class 5 should also get ready. One girl with wavy blue hair declared excitedly she was looking forward to it, while another boy beside her groaned that he also hated the cold. Well, then Leo began, stepping confidently towards their portal with his group, declaring their destination, "Let's go to Velkia, the domain of the elves." They arrived before a magnificent, snow-covered castle, Sirin Academy, the elf hero military academy. As we see a boy, now with noticeable elf-like ears, looked around, 2 elf students confronted him. One, a girl with green eyes and a yellow scarf, questioned what was up with that undignified outfit he wore. The boy beside her, with blue hair and a scarf, added disdainfully how an elf like him could be a student of the great Sirin Academy. The girl then sneered, calling him a typical half-blood and asking if he could stop showing off that nameless lineage. Luca's breath hitched, his head bowed. Suddenly, a stern voice interjected, "You shouldn't bully your colleague." A striking young woman with long, fiery red hair and a green scarf approached, identified as Lunia L. Lunda, from the prestigious House of Lunda, the freshman representative of Sirin. She admonished the 2 elves, telling them to behave in a manner befitting a descendant of Sirin. The male elf, flustered, questioned Lunia, asking if she wasn't bothered at all by this half-blood being a member of Sirin Academy, insisting his very existence was a humiliation and pointing to his uncivilized dress as proof of his unworthiness. The 2 elves who had been bullying Luca exchanged irritated glances, one muttering, "Just great, more of this crap." Lunia, her eyes blazing, her beastly ears and fangs momentarily appearing, roared at them, "If you don't like his outfit, then take off yours and give it to him. Cut that crap if you aren't going to help him." A special note highlighted her hot-tempered nature. The female elf, shocked, stammered about Miss London needing to be ashamed of such vulgarity as the daughter of a prestigious family. The male elf echoed her disbelief, wondering how this was happening. Lunia, undeterred, balled her fists and challenged them further. "Aren't you ashamed of yourselves for ganging up to bully him? Fight me if you have a problem with what I'm saying." Her furious aura, complete with a snarling beastly visage appearing behind her, terrified the two elves, who quickly decided to flee, one urging to run and let's go. Lunia let out a menacing growl as they retreated, prompting one to mutter that she was certainly a mad dog. Lunia then turned to Luca, her demeanor softening slightly as she asked with a sigh why he was even wearing such a thin outfit, adding that he made her want to take care of him. Luca, looking somewhat sheepish and identified as Luca Enners, ranked third among Sirin's freshmen and noted as a half-elf, explained with a gentle smile that somebody stole his other clothes. Lunia, momentarily flustered, remembering the culprits, offered him her own scarf or jacket, but Luca, worried, urged her to take it back as it was cold. Lunia insisted it was fine, telling him not to worry with a playful laugh. Luca observed that Lunia seemed to be in an especially good mood today, clearing his throat. Lunia, beaming, confirmed, "Yep. My contractor finally hatched, it seems." Luca congratulated her warmly. Lunia then announced cheerfully that she would be leaving and dashed off, calling out, "Dad. My contractor was born, right?" She burst into an office where a man with elf ears and brown hair sat at a desk, identified as Ellen Lunda, the patriarch of House Lunda, a prestigious house of heroes, and Farina's oathkeeper. He gently chided her, "Lunia, I told you to call me professor at school." Lunia, bouncing excitedly, confirmed that Farina's child had apparently hatched, her face alight with joy as she knew it. She eagerly asked when she could meet them. Ellen Lunda, however, looked grave, sighing as he stated quietly that there was an issue. Ellen Lunda delivered the devastating news, "Lunia, your contractor already made a contract, it seems." He continued, stating that as for the details, he was going to further investigate. Lunia, her back to him, visibly tensed as he added, "according to Farina." Her fist slammed down onto the desk with a resounding thud as she whirled around, her face contorted in fury, demanding, "Who is the thief? Who snatched my contractor?" The scene shifted to Velkia, the capital city of Elsalbikia, a snow-covered landscape where Leo and his classmates stood before a large, ornate portal. The students shivered dramatically from the cold, one lamenting that it was cold, while another, bundled up, dramatically declared they'd be joining Patrash soon, a reference to a sad story, and pleaded to just be killed instead. Leo, however, remained composed, stating calmly that it was bearable. A man with a rugged beard and a pink patterned cloak, their instructor, ordered them to stop making a ruckus and line up. The instructor then addressed the assembled students, asking, "This is Velkia, capital city of Elsalbikia. Do any of you know its history?" One student with wavy blue hair, despite shivering, enthusiastically raised her hand, eager to answer. She explained that Velkia was founded and named after fairy knight Velkia Urser, one of the disciples of Luna, the poet of the stars. Leo internally corrected her, thinking more precisely that he was a disciple of Luna and Aaron, picturing two figures clashing in a fiery battle from the past. He added silently, with a touch of disdain, "Velkia, that arrogant brat, is now known with such a great title like Fairy Knight." The instructor confirmed the student's answer was correct, adding that House Urser, the descendants of Fairy Knights, held the head position. Another student, a boy with orange hair, then asked incredulously if thieves existed even in the elven domain. The instructor, adjusting his cloak, replied with a wry smile that bad people existed everywhere, before being greeted warmly by another elf, "How have you been, Professor Harid?" As Professor Harid walked through the snow, other elves with long, pointed ears and elegant attire appeared, prompting excited, heart-eyed reactions from some of Leo's female classmates who exclaimed that those were the elves. Professor Harid greeted an elegant elf with long, white hair, identified as Run Urser, speaker of Elsalbikia and head of the Urser family, who stated he had been waiting for Professor Harlan. Harid, bundled in his pink cloak, remarked with a slight smile that Rune was just the same as ever. Meanwhile, the red-haired girl among Leo's classmates swooned dramatically, hearts in her eyes, clutching a heart-shaped object and declaring with a delighted sigh that she thought she had found her future spouse. Leo, observing her infatuation with Run Urser, questioned dryly if age didn't matter to her. The girl, startled, could only manage a what? Leo continued, teasing her, asking if she, the class rep, was jealous. She retorted defensively, as if, to which Leo pointed out matter-of-factly that she knew elves lived long and didn't age much, right? He then posed a challenging question, asking how old she thought he was now. The red-haired girl looked flustered, unsure how to answer. Nearby, other students chattered excitedly, with some noting Run Urser looked young, while others commented that the students Professor Harlan brought were always well-disciplined. Professor Harlan demurred, explaining they were just first years and still immature, simply young. The red-haired girl, still captivated by Run Urser, approached him hesitantly, uttering an and then, when he turned his attention to her with a questioning expression, she giggled nervously and asked if she might inquire about his name and age. Run Urser smiled politely, introducing himself. I'm late with introductions. My name is Run Urser. Run Urser continued, adding with a slight smile, and I'm 97 years old this year. This revelation caused the infatuated red-haired girl to literally turn to stone, her adoring expression frozen in shock, the word Doliana appearing dramatically. Professor Harrid chuckled, commenting that he was in his prime. The orange-haired boy, still recovering from his own shock at Run Urser's status, timidly asked if Run Urser was going to be their tour guide. Run Urser affirmed, I'm the head of the Urser family and the speaker of Velkia, his pronouncement causing the orange-haired boy to stammer in awe, it's an honor to meet you, while the red-haired girl, still petrified, internally despaired that they were doomed. Professor Harrid interjected, telling Carl Thomas they would talk later. The scene shifted to the field trip lodging at night, a somewhat dilapidated building. The students looked dismayed, the orange-haired boy and the wavy blue-haired girl exclaiming in unison if they were really staying here, saying they couldn't do this. Leo, however, teased them, asking if they'd rather sleep somewhere else. The red-haired girl, recovering from her earlier shock, immediately brightened, exclaiming that she knew it, class rep, and that he had a plan all along, right, she knew she could count on him. Leo, smirking, revealed he figured they'd say something about staying outside and had prepared accordingly, suggesting camping out. He then urged everyone, what are you all doing? Come on, let's unpack at our lodge. Some students grumbled about the cold, questioning if he checked the weather and worrying they'd turn into snowmen. Inside, as some students headed upstairs, the orange-haired boy, Carl, sidled up to another boy with lighter orange hair, whispering conspiratorially that he knew what the best part of a school trip was, it was sneaking into the girls' room, that's what. The other boy, startled, murmured, questioning Carl's intentions. Suddenly, Carl let out a gasp as the wavy blue-haired girl appeared behind them, her eyes glowing with teal energy, a powerful wind circle erupting around her, sending the boys flying with cries of pain and pleas to spare them. Leo, observing the chaos with a slight smile, remarked that it seemed everyone was enjoying the trip. He then decided that maybe he should look around too. As he peeked out his door, someone called his name, Leo Plavnim. He turned, questioning who it could be. A stern-looking elf woman with long blonde hair stood before him, announcing that the head of the family wished to see him, Leo Plavnim. That night, Leo was escorted to a grand, well-lit building. Peeking through the slightly ajar door, he saw Run Urser seated at a large desk amidst towering bookshelves. Run Urser greeted him, welcome, Leo, and apologized for calling him there, explaining something urgent came up and asking if Leo could wait a moment. Leo replied politely that it was fine. Looking around the opulent room, Leo observed there seemed to be a lot of interesting stuff and asked if he might take a look. Run Urser, smiling warmly, readily agreed, saying of course. Leo examined the various artifacts displayed, noting internally that these were quite old artifacts. His gaze, however, was drawn to one particular item, a beautifully crafted sword mounted on a plaque. A close-up of his red eye reflected the sword, its golden hilt and ornate green blade glinting. Run Urser, noticing Leo's interest, questioned how he knew about Urquint, as its history was only passed down to the heads of the Urser family. Leo, caught slightly off guard, quickly explained that he read about Urquint in ancient texts at Lumern's Grand Library. Run Urser acknowledged, is that so? Well, Lumern does have everything. Leo reached out, his hand hovering over the sword, commenting that it was imbued with star mana, but it was not the real one. His internal thoughts clarified that the real Urquint was Luna, a dagger for her protection, wondering what she thought. A flashback showed Kyle, Leo's past self, lying by a campfire, a book over his face, as Luna's voice called out, "Kyle, come look at this, quick." Kyle responded with a simple sound of acknowledgement. Luna, her face obscured but her long white elf ears and a gleaming dagger visible, asked excitedly what he thought. Kyle, looking somewhat disheveled and with a small twig in his hair, had apparently mistaken her for a goblin there to loot, prompting a comically enraged, blushing reaction from Luna, depicted with angry symbols. Returning to the present, Leo concluded his internal recollection. It originally belonged to Luna, but she gave it to her disciple, Velkia. Leo continued his internal recollection about the dagger Urquint, remembering it chibi-style, Velkia sadly stating that then, right before the final expedition in the battle with Tartarus, Velkia lost it. Run Urser then explained to Leo that the Urquint they possessed was a reward their ancestor obtained by conquering Velkia Im's hero's world. However, Run Urser added with a slight smile, that sadly, relics obtained from a hero's world couldn't be used by anyone but the one who earned them. So it's just a hollow shell now, Leo concluded aloud. Run Urser gestured for Leo to have a seat. Seated across from each other, Run Urser began, asking if he heard from Harlan that Leo was in all classes and the first-year rep of Lumerne. Leo confirmed that was right. Run Urser continued, acknowledging it was rude to ask something like this upon first meeting, but then posed the question if Leo would meet his granddaughter. He explained that his granddaughter was a first year at Sirin Academy, a gifted girl who got in with top scores. However, Run Urser elaborated, the world was vast, and right after enrolling, she hit a wall and lost her motivation. He suggested that a student her age from another race, like Leo, might be able to inspire her. Leo listened, his expression thoughtful. Run Urser then handed Leo a key, prompting Leo's internal surprise, wondering if it was really okay for him to hand over the key to his granddaughter's room. Leo found himself standing before a wooden door, knocking hesitantly. The door creaked open into a dimly lit, incredibly messy room, papers and clothes strewn everywhere. Leo coughed, observing the chaotic state and the dust. He noticed several posters and pictures of heroes tacked to the wall, remarking internally that she was a great hero fanatic. He mused that while he knew there were people who collected such stuff, this was a bit much. Still taking in the chaotic room, Leo spotted a school uniform hanging on the back of a door, questioning if this was the Sirin school uniform. From under a pile of blankets on the bed, a voice addressed Grandpa, then, seemingly waking up and rubbing sleepy eyes, a young elf with messy white hair, identified as Run Urser, Sirin first-year class vice-top, complained about him just barging into his grown granddaughter's room, saying that was really too much. A comical depiction showed Iron wailing as Leo stood amidst the messy room, a large question mark appearing above Iron's head as she noticed him, then another above Leo's. Iron shrieked in alarm about a human being there, immediately throwing a pillow at Leo with surprising force. Leo, looking slightly disheveled but unharmed, introduced himself calmly, "Hi, I'm Leo Plav. I came to see you at your grandfather's request." He picked up a book from a nearby shelf, observing, "Wow, you've collected about as many books on Kyle as I have? Let's see how they portray him from an elf's perspective." He read a title aloud, "The Northern Mountain Beast Subjugation Might Also Be Kyle's Achievement?" "Oh, this is well organized," as Iron, still burrowed under her blankets, listened. Leo continued browsing, a thoughtful expression on his face, then asked if by any chance she liked Kyle too. Iron peeked out from under her covers, looking flustered, as images of Kyle, labeled the hero of the beginning and framed with hearts and stars, appeared, culminating in a cute, decorated picture frame of Kyle with Tata written below.